I have been a translator for 22 years. I am precise about language by profession and by habit, and so I want to be precise about this. When the Vethrani Intercept Oversight Panel declared Station Korvhal dark, they were not lying. They believed it. That distinction matters more than most people understand. The panel convened at the first meridian bell in the Solveth Accord's secondary chamber, a long, low room of brushed alloy and recessed lighting that the oversight bodies prefer, because it photographs poorly. 12 arbiters arranged in a horseshoe, presiding chair at the apex, and a single observer table along the south wall, where I sat with a translation unit I had not powered on. My name was on the session manifest as Linguistic Support, Tier 2, which meant I was expected to render for the Earth mission if the Earth mission required rendering. We rarely required it. I had been attending oversight sessions in this chamber for 11 years and had activated my unit a total of 4 times. The session that morning opened with a routine licensing review. Station Korvhal was item 6 on the agenda. I had served at Korvhal for 3 years before my current posting. It was a passive intercept relay, a quiet installation on a surveyed rock at the edge of Accord jurisdiction, staffed by a single operator and maintained under a perpetual operations charter filed in the Accord's own founding instrument. The original charter predated the Intercept Oversight Panel by 9 years, which meant the panel had no founding authority over it, only a licensing advisory role, a fact that the panel had never, in 30 years, found occasion to examine carefully. Arbiters read slowly when they believe the outcome is settled. The licensing review for Korvhal took 4 minutes. The station had returned no active signal in 30 years. Its last filed operational report was 3 decades old. The panel's own assessment instrument had reclassified it as dormant in the 16th year, non-functional in the 22nd, and had recommended revocation of its intercept license in each of the last 8 annual reviews. The Earth mission had responded to none of those recommendations. The presiding arbiter, a Solvathi elder with the careful, unhurried bearing of someone who has administered the same processes for a long time, summarized the finding. Station Korvhal, no signal, no operational confirmation, no response to 8 advisory recommendations. He proposed a motion to revoke the intercept license, effective at close of session, declare the installation abandoned under Accord salvage protocols, and refer the physical site to the Infrastructure Reclamation Directorate. The motion carried 11-1. The dissenting arbiter was not dissenting on principle. She simply had not yet finished reading the summary. They looked at me then, as they always do after a vote affecting an Earth interest. Courtesy mostly. An opportunity for the human representative to note objection for the record or to ask for a clarification. I had done both at various times in this chamber. I had done neither when the outcome would not change. I reached into the case beside my chair and placed a data cartridge on the table. It was a standard Accord format cartridge, the kind the panel's own intake system accepts without a verification step. I slid it to the center of the table and left my hand flat beside it. The presiding arbiter looked at it. He looked at me. I did not say anything. One of the junior arbiters, a young Korathi who had been assigned to the panel only that year, leaned toward his superior and asked, quietly enough that he may not have expected me to hear, what the cartridge contained. His superior did not know, neither did anyone else at the table. The presiding arbiter, following protocol, instructed the session clerk to receive it. The clerk's intake terminal accepted the cartridge and began to read. What Korvhal had been doing for 30 years was listening. That was always its function. It was a passive intercept relay, which means it received and logged signals passing through its survey corridor. Signals that were not addressed to it, signals that parties transmitting them had no particular reason to imagine were being received by anyone. In the first years of Korvhal's operation, those signals were sparse. Commercial traffic, navigational pings, the ordinary low-frequency noise of the corridor. Then, 12 years into Korvhal's service life, the Vethrani Intercept Oversight Panel had established its regional coordination node, 4 light hours from Korvhal's survey corridor. After that, the logs were not sparse. The panel's coordination node communicated, as all coordination nodes do, on encrypted standard band channels. Standard band encryption is adequate against active interception, a system trying to break it in real time. It is not designed to account for a passive relay quietly receiving every transmission as a matter of course, and storing the content under a perpetual operations charter that classified all collected data as Earth mission's sovereign record. For 18 years, every word the Vethrani Intercept Oversight Panel transmitted through its coordination node had been received by the installation the panel had just voted to declare abandoned. The clerk's terminal read for a long time. I watched the presiding arbiter's face. He was a disciplined administrator, and he kept his expression level for longer than most would have managed. But there is a particular quality to the silence that falls in a room when every person in it is arriving, at roughly the same moment, at the same understanding, and it has a weight that composure cannot fully absorb. 11,412 session records, advisory memoranda, internal assessments, 14 years of licensing recommendations discussed, drafted, revised, and transmitted through channels that passed within Korvhal's survey corridor before reaching their recipients. Every document that had shaped the panel's position on Earth mission operations, logged and indexed and authenticated, and now entering the panel's own permanent record through the panel's own intake system, because that is what the intake system does when it receives a properly formatted Accord cartridge. It enters the contents into permanent record. There is no override step. There was no reason anyone had built one. One of the arbiters asked, after a long time, whether the Earth mission wished to contest the revocation vote. I did not answer immediately. I was a translator by training, and I have a habit, when the meaning is clear, of taking a moment before I speak, to be certain I have the right words. I told him that we did not contest it. What I did not say, because it did not need to be said, was that a revocation of an intercept license does not erase what the license has already produced. The 30 years of logs in the Accord's permanent record were not affected by anything the panel had voted on that morning. The founding charter's perpetuity clause, which the panel's advisory role had never empowered it to revoke, remained. If the Infrastructure Reclamation Directorate sent a crew to Korvhal to decommission the installation, they would find it in full operational order, its archive transmitted, its function complete, its logs entered into the permanent record of the body that had just declared it non-functional. I closed my translation case. I thanked the presiding arbiter for the session. I stood, and I walked out. I have been in this work long enough to know the difference between a room that has gone quiet because a thing is finished, and a room that has gone quiet because a thing is only beginning. The chamber behind me was the second kind. 12 arbiters, a session clerk, and an intake terminal that had just confirmed 11,000 entries into the record they would be reviewing for the next year, determining what else the panel had said on channels that passed through Korvhal's corridor, determining what had been received, and what had been logged, and what was now, irrevocably, part of the permanent record of the Vethrani Intercept Oversight Panel. That evening, I filed a brief operational confirmation with the Earth Mission Registry. Station Korvhal, intercept license revoked, archive transmission complete, installation on standby. The duty officer who received the filing asked me, because she had heard about the session by then, whether I thought the panel would convene again soon. I told her they already had. The emergency session notice had come through on my way out of the building. She asked what I expected them to do. I thought about the presiding arbiter's face in the moment before his composure settled back into place. I thought about 11,000 session records entering a permanent file through a system that had no override. I thought about 18 years of the panel's own internal voice, now part of the panel's own archive, accessible to any party with standing to request it. I told her I expected them to be very careful, for a very long time, about what they said and where they said it. She looked at me for a moment, then she nodded. That is the nature of a channel you cannot close. You can vote to declare it dark. You can revoke its license and refer its installation to salvage and write the dormancy into your own record. And then one morning your own intake system reads a cartridge, and you understand, with the specific clarity that only documentation can provide, that dark and silent are not the same thing, and that some things listen longest when no one is watching them.